The room was silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Moonlight bled through the half-open curtains, casting long, jagged shadows across the walls. Daniel lay motionless in bed, his body heavy, his mind screaming, but no sound escaped his lips. Sleep paralysis again. His eyes darted frantically, straining against the invisible weight pressing down on his chest. Then he saw it. A shadow darker than the room itself loomed at the foot of his bed. Tall. Thin. Wrong, its silhouette seemed to ripple, as if made of smoke, but the eyes, two pinpricks of sickly yellow light, burned into him with unnatural focus. Daniel tried to thrash, to scream, but his muscles refused to obey. The figure tilted its head, studying him. A dry, rattling whisper slithered through the air, no words, just noise, like dead leaves scraping against glass. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pressure lifted. Daniel gasped, bolting upright. His sheets were drenched in sweat. The room was empty. Just a nightmare. He laughed shakily, running a hand through his hair. But as he swung his legs over the edge of the bed, his fingers brushed against something on his arm, 3 thin, raised lines. Scratches. Fresh. A chill crawled down his spine. Over coffee the next morning, he told his friend Mia about the dream. She went pale. You've heard the stories, right? Sleep paralysis demons. Some people think they're not just hallucinations. They're things that feed on fear. Daniel scoffed. Yeah, and I'm the next victim in a horror movie. But that night, as he flicked off the lights, the air in his room grew thick. He hesitated, then yanked open his closet, checked under the bed, nothing. *C. You're losing it, *. He climbed into bed, forcing his eyes shut. Sleep came quickly. Too quickly. He woke to the sound of his name. Not a shout. Not a dream. A whisper. Close. Intimate. Daniel's blood turned to ice. There, in the corner of his room, where the shadows clung too thick, too deep, the figure stood. Watching. Waiting. And this time, he was wide awake. The whisper came again, curling into his ear like smoke. Daniel. It knew him. The glow of Daniel's laptop screen cut through the darkness of his apartment, painting his exhausted face in pale blue light. 3 nights had passed since the whisper. 3 nights of sleeping with the lights on. 3 nights of jumping at every creak in the floorboards. His fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up forum threads with titles like *, sleep paralysis or something worse. * and *, shadow people, fact or fiction. * page after page, the same patterns emerged, tall figures with burning eyes, the crushing weight on the chest, the whispers. But one thread made his breath catch. * Blackwood sleep demon, missing persons cases. *. The post was old, buried deep in a paranormal subreddit. A user named Survivor87 claimed that in Daniel's own town of Blackwood, over a dozen people had reported encounters with a shadowy entity during sleep paralysis. 5 of them had vanished within a year of their first experience. Daniel's throat went dry. He clicked on a grainy newspaper scan attached to the post, * Blackwood Gazette, 1992, * the headline read, * local teen found wandering highway, claims dark man chased him for days. Asterisk. The article mentioned scratches. Whispers. Just like his. A private message notification popped up. Asterisk Survivor 87, you're digging into things you shouldn't. Delete your search history. Stop talking about it, asterisk. Daniel's fingers hovered over the keys before typing back, how do you know about me? The reply was instant. Survivor 87, because it's watching you right now. Daniel spun around in his chair, heart hammering. His empty apartment stared back. He messaged again, what is it? Asterisk Survivor 87, not it. Them. The hungry ones. They latch onto fear. Yours is strong. That's why it said your name, asterisk. A chill spider walked down Daniel's spine. He hadn't told anyone about the whisper. Before he could reply, another message came through, a photo attachment. The black and white image showed a group of construction workers in front of the old Blackwood Asylum, circa 1950s. But in the far left window of the abandoned building, barely visible behind cracked glass, stood a tall, thin silhouette with glowing eyes. Daniel's coffee mug slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. The figure in the window. It was his demon. The Blackwood Public Library smelled of yellowed paper and dust. Daniel sat hunched in the local history section, fingers trembling as he turned another brittle newspaper page. The headline screamed, asterisk, arson fire claims family of 4, lone survivor, 6, hospitalized. Asterisk. The date, October 31, 1996. His 6th birthday. A coffee stain obscured part of the article, but 2 words stood out, asterisk, unidentified shadow. Asterisk. Daniel's vision blurred. Flashes of memory erupted, smoke choking his lungs, heat blistering his skin, and through the flames, something watching from the hallway. The same elongated silhouette. The same sulfur-yellow eyes. Across the table, an ancient librarian cleared her throat. That fire started in the walls, they said. Like the house wanted to burn. Her cataract-clouded eyes fixed on him. You're the Alden boy, aren't you? The one who got out. Daniel's mouth went dry. He'd never told anyone about the shadow in the flames. That night, his apartment felt different. Warped. The air hummed with static, making his arm hairs stand on end. When he passed the bathroom mirror, his reflection flickered, just for a second, revealing the demon standing behind him. He spun around. Nothing there. Until the faucet turned on by itself. Ice-cold water gushed into the sink as whispers rose from the drain. Daniel stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp. The bulb exploded in a shower of sparks, plunging the room into darkness. From the blackest corner came a wet, clicking sound. Like 2 long fingers snapping bone against bone. Daniel fled to his bedroom and barricaded the door. Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of fire and a voice hissing asterisk, we remember your fear. Asterisk. Morning light revealed his room in disarray. The dresser now blocked the closet. His chair sat perfectly centered beneath the ceiling fan. And on the wall above his bed, written in what looked like charred ash, were 2 words. You're next. The same phrase Survivor 87 had messaged him hours before their account went dark. Daniel reached out, touching the message. His fingers came away black, not ash. Blood. And in the mirror across the room, the demon smiled. The blackout started on a Tuesday. Daniel blinked awake in the produce aisle of a 24-hour grocery store, his hands clutching a rotting pomegranate that oozed crimson juice between his fingers. The clock above the checkout counters read 3:47 a.m. He had no memory of leaving his apartment. The cashier eyed his bloodshot eyes and twitching fingers. "You all right, man?" Daniel dropped the fruit and ran. That night, the dreams came sharper, more vivid than before. He stood in a long corridor of doors, each one pulsing like a living thing. Behind door number 1, a teenage girl clawing at her own throat as shadowy tendrils poured from her mouth. Behind door number 3, his childhood home burning, the silhouette standing untouched in the inferno. Behind the last door, his asterisk door, Daniel saw himself strapped to a hospital bed, screaming as black smoke forced itself down his nostrils. He woke choking. The digital clock flashed 6 hours 66 minutes before shorting out. Cold breath trickled down the back of his neck. "They all fought too," whispered a voice that wasn't his own. Look what happened. Desperate, Daniel tracked down Father Callahan, a retired exorcist who'd investigated the Blackwood Asylum deaths. The priest's hands shook as he examined the photos on Daniel's phone, the scratches, the writing on the wall, the figure in the asylum window. "This isn't just a haunting," the old man rasped. "It's a crossing. The hungry ones use our fear as doorways. Your childhood trauma made you the perfect." He trailed off, staring at something over Daniel's shoulder. Daniel turned. The wall behind him rippled like disturbed water. Father Callahan gripped his arm with surprising strength. "It's not just visiting you anymore. It's rewriting you. Every blackout, every nightmare, that's it, wearing your skin, learning how to be human." The drive home passed in a blur. Daniel kept checking the rearview mirror, expecting to see those yellow eyes staring back. His fingers left sweaty prints on the steering wheel. Back in his apartment, he splashed water on his face. The bathroom lights flickered. When he looked up, his reflection was already smiling, a grin too wide, teeth too sharp. Its eyes glowed back at him. Daniel's mouth moved without his permission. "Almost time," his reflection said in that wet, clicking voice. The lights went out. When they came back on, the mirror showed only Daniel. Pale. Shaking. And behind him, the shadow uncurling from the shower curtain. Reaching. Waiting. Episode 5, The Final Nightmare. The ritual required 3 things: a circle of salt, a blade, and true conviction. Daniel's hands shook as he drew the protective symbol on his apartment floor, the chalk snapping twice under his trembling fingers. Father Callahan's warnings echoed in his mind, "If your will falters for even a second, it will consume you completely." Midnight struck. The air grew thick, tasting of copper and burnt hair. Daniel began the incantation. At first, nothing happened. Then the salt circle hissed as if reacting to invisible acid. The walls pulsed like living flesh. Shadows pooled in the corners, congealing into that familiar towering silhouette, but this time, it stepped fully into the flickering candlelight. Up close, the demon was worse than Daniel had imagined. Its elongated limbs bent at impossible angles, joints clicking with each movement. The yellow eyes weren't just glowing, they were swirling, pulling Daniel in like whirlpools of liquid sulfur. "Little Matchstick," it crooned, using the childhood nickname only his dead mother had known. Asterisk, "You can't burn me away twice." Asterisk. Daniel plunged the ritual knife into the circle's center. The demon shrieked, a sound that shattered every light bulb in the apartment. Glass rained down as darkness swallowed them whole. Then, silence. Daniel found himself standing in the hallway of doors from his dreams. Each door now bore his name, written in that same charred blood script. The final door stood ajar, leaking smoke. He stepped through. The confrontation was brutal. The demon wore his face now, mirroring his every move, anticipating his every thought. They fought through shifting landscapes, his burning childhood home, the abandoned asylum, the grocery store where he'd blacked out. With each passing moment, Daniel felt parts of himself being erased, overwritten by the thing's malignant presence. Just as the demon pinned him down, its jagged fingers closing around his throat, Daniel remembered Father Callahan's final words, asterisk, "The true battle isn't against it, it's against your own fear." Asterisk. With his last ounce of strength, Daniel stopped resisting. He embraced the terror, the grief, the guilt, let it all flood through him until the demon recoiled, screaming. Light exploded outward from Daniel's chest, incinerating the nightmare landscape. The demon's form unraveled like burnt thread, its final whisper fading, "Clever matchstick." Daniel gasped awake in his salt circle. Morning light streamed through the broken windows. The apartment stood silent. Normal. He laughed, tears streaming down his face. It was over. Then the mattress shifted beside him. Daniel turned slowly. The demon sat cross-legged on his bed, head cocked at that unnatural angle. Its smile split wider than any human mouth could stretch. "You never woke up," it whispered, petting his hair with clawed fingers. The bedroom walls dissolved into endless blackness. And Daniel kept screaming. And screaming. And screaming.